The rich man was walking on the road when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his brain, and then he fainted on the roadside. He was sent to the hospital for a checkup and found out that he had terminal brain cancer. What's even more devastating is that he invested all his wealth in a building. As a result, the building failed and he went bankrupt overnight. Now facing death from poverty and illness, the only thing he can't let go of is his pregnant wife. The rich man found an investment company and wanted to sell the building at a low price, but the investor talked for a long time and persuaded him to participate in a game. If he won, he would get 24.5 million for free, and if he lost, he would lose his life. He was about to die anyway. The rich man decided to take a gamble. The next day, the investor asked him to meet at a restaurant and said that the rules of the game were very simple. 5 killers would hunt down the rich man. He would win as long as he could survive for 24 hours. The rich man asked when the game would start. The investor looked at the time on his phone and said it had already started. The rich man was confused. He grabbed his cell phone and ran out of the restaurant. He hurriedly ran across 2 streets and got into a bus before calming down a little. But as soon as he sat down, he saw a yellow-haired man chasing after him. He sat directly next to the rich man, as if he wanted to take something from the box. The rich man quickly called the driver to stop and then rushed off. He hid in a shopping mall to observe for a long time, but there was only a woman with a child in the elevator, so he dared to enter. But at this time, a man in a suit also squeezed into the elevator and secretly glanced at the rich man. The rich man remained silent and stole a pen from the woman's backpack to use as a weapon. The man in the suit got off the elevator halfway, and the rich man continued to go up, but when he came to the corridor, he found that the man in the suit was following him. He was indeed a killer. He took out an awl and killed the rich man. The rich man turned around and ran away, hiding in a toilet cubicle. However, the man in a suit also chased him in and kicked open the toilet door, looking at the rich man like a frightened little rabbit. The man in the suit was disappointed and lamented that the prey this time was too rubbish. He pushed the door open and escaped nimbly. The man in the suit touched his forehead and there was blood, his face full of excitement. The rich man returns to the mall downstairs. Every hour in the game, a bonus will be credited to his account. At the same time, his location will be exposed for 15 seconds. This positioning phone cannot be thrown away or damaged. The rich man counted the seconds while squeezing into a crowded place. He bet that the killer would not dare to attack in public. As a result, a man in leather clothes grabbed him and put a knife on his waist, forcing him to go out with him. The man in a suit who was chasing him, seeing that his prey had been robbed, he immediately stopped the elevator. The rich man took the opportunity to knock over the man in leather and fled again. He fled into a church and hid in the confessional, thinking that in such a remote place, the killer should not be found for the time being. But the small window next to him suddenly opened, and it turned out to be the priest. The rich man was chatting perfunctorily with the priest. At this time, a figure walked under the door curtain, and the rich man panicked. He pulled down the door curtain, covered the man, and hit him on the head. The priest rushed out and grabbed the rich man. It turned out that this man was just an innocent believer. The rich man knew that he had hit the wrong person, so he allowed the priest to teach him a lesson. Suddenly the phone rang, and his location was exposed again. What's even more terrifying is that the priest took out the same mobile phone, which showed his location. The priest was the killer. Seeing how kind the priest was, he took out a claw hammer in front of the statue of Jesus and wanted to smash the rich man in front of him to pieces. He knocked off the rich man's stick with one hammer, and hit him in the face with another hammer. Fortunately, the third hammer missed and broke the door lock. The rich man tried to escape, but was knocked down. Just when the priest was about to send him to see God, his hand was stuck by the rolling shutter. The rich man took the opportunity to push, cracking the priest's bones, and then punched him twice, locking the priest in the church. The priest said with a sinister look, "Let's wait and see," and then he stuck the hammer into the rich man's leg. He didn't want to let the rich man go at all. The rich man endured the severe pain, pulled out a hammer, smashed open the cash box, and used the money to buy some medicine and simply bandaged the wound, but he could no longer run. The wealthy man stumbled to a stadium and took away a jersey and hat from a vendor. At this time, another hour passed and his position was exposed again. The motorcycle man followed the position and chased him, but he couldn't find him for a while because the rich man was wearing a football uniform and mingling among the fans. Unexpectedly, the street vendor found the rich man and asked him to give the uniform back. During the entanglement, the rich man was still seen by the man in a suit. He fled outside and hid in the trunk of a car, temporarily evading pursuit, but the car drove onto the highway and drove farther and farther. The rich man remembered that the investor was also the person in charge of the game, and had told him that he could not leave the city, otherwise the game would be declared a failure, and the killer would chase him to the ends of the earth. The rich man made a noise in the trunk, and the owner stopped to check, found a stranger hiding in his car, and was so frightened that he called the police on the spot. The rich man snatched their mobile phones and threw them away, because there is another rule of the game: you cannot ask for help from others, let alone call the police. The rich man stole a taxi from a gas station and drove to the city. As he was driving, a motorcycle caught up with him and punctured the tire with a dart. He then climbed in through the broken rear window and tried to strangle the rich man to death with a wire rope. The rich man grabbed the wire rope tightly and slammed the accelerator into the roadblock. The motorcycle killer fell out of the car. It turned out that he was a priest. Facing this murderous pervert, the rich man couldn't bear it anymore, so he grabbed a cement brick and smashed his head flat. He couldn't walk to the river bank. He made trouble at the ticket office and stole a ticket. He got on the sightseeing boat and got on the boat under the instructions of the waiter. In the dining area, I planned to eat something to replenish my strength, and just picked up a bottle of water. I found the waiter coming over.
The hunt will do that to you, Dodge.
Fuck me.
Yes, the woman is also one of the killers. Her skills are far superior to the rich man. After a few blows, the rich man was unable to fight back. She grabbed a fork and stabbed the rich man in the neck. At the critical moment of life and death, the rich man pushed the female killer into the oven, and the flames ignited her pants. The rich man took the opportunity to escape. When he came to the deck, he found that the ship had sailed far away. The female killer pointed to the front and said that the bridge was the city boundary. Once you cross it, you lose. The rich man had no choice but to climb up to the top of the boat, grab the bridge with both hands and hang him under the bridge. The female killer also followed. In this case, she did not let the rich man go. She approached him little by little. The rich man raised his leg and kicked her directly. Go down. Soon after, the rich man climbed back to the shore and found some old clothes in the donation box to change into. As long as he survived the night, he would win. But not long after he walked, he was knocked down with a stick. The rich man woke up from a coma and saw a group of black people pointing guns at him. It turned out that he accidentally broke into the black community, and they also discovered the $15 million that had been transferred to his mobile phone. The black people asked the rich man to transfer the money today. The rich man noticed that the new hour had just started and the location of the mobile phone was exposed again. He advised the black people to let him go, otherwise a killer would chase them and they would all suffer. Of course the black man didn't believe it. He asked his men to beat up the rich man and ask him how to transfer the money. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Everyone was staring at the door. One of the black men was just about to open the door when he was killed by a bullet fired from outside. In the chaos, the rich man hid in the bathroom, and he saw that the killer who came in was the yellow-haired man he met on the bus during the day. The yellow-haired man held a submachine gun and quickly killed all the black people with suppressive firepower. When he opened the door and slowly approached, the rich man quickly said that the rules of the game were that guns could not be used. The yellow-haired man put away the gun, took out an electric shock stick and said, "If I use this to kill you, it will not be considered a violation." Just when he was about to take action, he was shot in the head. The black boss shot before his death, and the killer and the black people died together. The rich man picked up a gun and ran away. He came to the hospital because the medicine to relieve the pain of cancer was not enough and needed to be replenished. When the nurse got the medicine, she said it was just an ordinary anti-inflammatory medicine. The male protagonist was a little confused. He was diagnosed with cancer in this hospital at that time. He asked the nurse to call up his own case, but the result was that this person was not found, not even the doctor who examined him. The rich man realized that he had been cheated. He called the person in charge of the game and asked. Sure enough, in fact, the rich man did not have cancer at all. He was drugged when he fainted on the roadside and was sent to the hospital for examination. It was also planned by the person in charge. Even the rich man, they are behind every bankruptcy. No, the rich man was desperate and chose this game, but the game chose him from the beginning and forced him on this path because he was a high-quality prey. It was too late for the rich man to quit now because his pregnant wife was kidnapped. As a hostage, not only the $24.5 million, but also his wife's life was at stake. The rich man decided not to sit still and wait for death. He came to the car factory where his father once ran and lit up the billboard on the roof, telling the killers, "Stop looking, I am here." Soon the remaining 3 killers gathered at the car park, and they regarded the rich as their prey. As everyone knows, rich people also start hunting them. The man in leather clothes who was the first to come in was pointed at a gun by the rich man, but he turned around and knocked off the gun, pinned the rich man under him and beat him wildly. The rich man knocked him down with a backhand punch, then pressed the switch and pressed the heavy plate. After crushing the leather-clad man's hand, the rich man ran up to the iron frame to hide, but accidentally fell down. At this time, someone picked up his gun. It was not a killer, but a friend of the rich man. He said that he had been looking for the rich man since he disappeared. When he saw the billboard of the car factory lit up, he finally found him. No one can believe the rich man now, for fear that the person in charge of the game is up to something again. He asked his friend to return the gun to him, but his friend raised the gun and shot the female killer behind the rich man, killing him on the spot. It turns out that his friend really did not betray him. While his friend was still explaining, he was suddenly shot. He was the last man in the suit. The rich man quickly evacuated with his friends, opened the valve of the water and oil barrel, and a large amount of gasoline spurted out. He then ignited it with a wire, and the fire forced the man in the suit away, and finally blew up the entire car factory. The rich man asked his friend to wait outside. The explosion would soon attract the police and he would be saved, while the rich man had to save his wife. During the game, an observer records the rich man's every move as a bystander, but he does not know his whereabouts and has been discovered by the rich man long ago. The rich man learned from him that his wife was imprisoned in the unfinished building he invested in. The rich man rushed to the unfinished building and found his wife. Just as he was about to take her away, the man in a suit chased her. The rich man used up the last 2 bullets, asked his wife to hide here, and then went to lure the man in suit away. The man in suit chased him to the top of the building. The rich man said, "You can't shoot me, it's against the rules." When the man in the suit heard this, he put away his gun, took out an awl, and drove the rich man into despair with one stroke. He didn't waste any words, and then wanted to prick the rich man's hand. But when he raised the awl, he realized that it was dawn and the sun was shining on him. On his face, the man in the suit suddenly stretched out his hand and asked the rich man to grab him. The rich man dubiously did so, but the man in the suit actually pulled him up and said that the game time is up and you win. Pat the rich man's hand and leave politely, as if he was not a killer, but a good man who did what was right. The desperate day is finally over, and the bankrupt rich man will use the $24.5 million to usher in a new life. This game looks violent, but in fact 999 marriages failed and died among 1,000 participants. The person in charge of the game has left the city. He opened a resume, which will be the next high-quality prey.